everyone. Welcome to Fordham Business and Law Association's Fireside Chats. This week I have with me Lisa Zeiderman. Welcome, Lisa.
Thank you so much for having me, Sydney. My name is Lisa Zeiderman, and I am managing partner of Miller, Zeiderman & Whitaker, which is a matrimonial family law firm based in Manhattan and in Westchester County. And basically what we do is we handle all facets of family and matrimonial law.
Perfect. So let's start all the way at the beginning. You went to Fordham University School of Law. Can you tell me a little bit about your experience there? Were there any courses in particular that you think were especially helpful to your career as a young lawyer or also further out?
Sure. So I loved my time at Fordham Law. It was a phenomenal experience. I went there actually as an adult student. And when I say an adult, this is my second career. So I had already had a career previously and then left the fashion business where I had been, had a business, and went into Fordham undergrad and then Fordham Law. And at Fordham Law, I would say in terms of coursework, my time at the Family Law Clinic was extraordinary. That was great. And I had the pleasure of working with fabulous professors, including Professor Martin at the time, and really learned a lot and had a great deal of hands-on experience with family law situations, including an ACS case at that time. And I also had taken a course with, unfortunately, the now deceased Professor Florescu, who was one of the important people in family and matrimonial law. And it was a drafting class for prenups and postnups. And it was a very good course. And I still to this day use the tools that I learned from Professor Florescu.
Interesting. So you said that this was your second career. What inspired that change to go to law school? Because that's a pretty big decision.
Well, it was more than that. I had to actually go to undergrad school. So it was a little bit more than even going to law school. But I had gone through my own divorce, and I decided that I really wanted to help people through their own matrimonial issues. And I decided to go back and to get my undergrad degree and then to get my law degree. And I was very focused on being a family law attorney at the time.
Understood. So it was a life experience that really helped you to understand what you wanted to do. So I see that you started after you graduated from Fordham Law, you started at Johnson & Cohen. What helped you make a decision of where you wanted to go? Was it environment? Was it the people that you met in terms of, because you already had a practice area you were interested in. So what helped you make the decision of what kind of firm you wanted to be at?
So while I was at Fordham Law, I had actually interned for another attorney, Amy Reese, and she was a very good mentor, and I had had an incredible experience. And then I had decided at that point to move out of the city, and so I had gone over to Johnson & Cohen because they were in Rockland and Westchester, although I had already started to cultivate my own clients in the city. And so what ended up happening is I went back to the city, and they opened a city office for Johnson & Cohen. And when I decided to leave there and start my own practice with my current partners, I actually took on their city office, and then we expanded our city office probably three times now. So we've developed quite a Manhattan, Brooklyn, Queens type of base now.
So starting your own practice is incredible. What were some of the considerations that went into that? Because I'm sure that's something that people are interested in knowing about.
Well, I think the first consideration is, you have to be able to cultivate clients. And I had a lot of referrals from many, many clients. And so I had already cultivated a very large client base and referral base. And so wanted to expand into my own practice at that point. And frankly, I really wanted to be able to service the clients and to be able to hire the staff to do that. And I was looking to grow a firm that was very service oriented and who could take on clients, and we would continue to hire, which is what we've done. So we are 41 people now in our firm, 18 attorneys, and probably in Westchester County with the largest matrimonial firm by far. And in the city, I would guess that we're probably in the top 5. So it was definitely this concept of service, because our clients are going through the most stressful times of their lives when they come to us, whether it be, issues about their children or issues about their finances. And they really need people who are going to service them, return their calls, make sure that they're there. And we are essentially 24/7, we are there for our clients. So it was very important to me that I be able to do that, and that I have the staff that I could actually cultivate and to be able to service those clients. And so that was a very big part of why I went into my own practice.
Right. So beyond just legal side of opening your own practice and starting your own practice, what are some of the business side considerations that you had to take into advisement?
So, well, we took this from ground zero, right? So we had to make sure that we had the computers that ready to go, and we had space. We took raw space and we built it out. We had to make sure that we had banking relationships, and that we had billing set up, bookkeeper, all of the an HR person who has now joined our firm. All of the things that you really don't think about in terms of when you're practicing law, you have to have in place. Training programs for people to be able to work through the documents online, essentially, and in a system. We use a fabulous system so that we can find our documents easily, so that we're not searching through boxes, etc. We're really remote now, but we were remote then because we had the city office and the Westchester office, and so we were set up to be able to do this. But making sure that all of those systems are in place. And that was a very important piece for us. And then, once those systems were in place, to be able to really focus on the law and our clients.
Right. That's really important. And I assume that client relationships, especially in the marital and family law sector, are of the utmost importance. Would you say that's probably pretty correct?
Without a doubt. I mean, as I say to people, I'm going to know more about their children before the case is over than I might know about my own child. And I'm very serious. What time they brush their teeth, what books that they like to read, what their favorite songs are. All of those kinds of things are important when you're building, for example, a custody case. And so those are, important pieces of information that we learn about our clients. My husband will always say to me, "You don't remember this or that, but you always remember the people's names of their children." And it's really true. And, I was in court in Orange County a couple of months ago, and somebody asked me about this very young child that I had a case on. That case was probably 10 years ago. And they remembered, the court officer remembered the child's name. And I was just astonished by it. But that entire case went on for many months. And that child was a big part of frankly, my life at that point. So it is incredibly important to understand what your client is going through, to understand the facts of your case, to understand the finances, to really understand the case law that is behind the finances as well, because what you need to be prepared when you go into court with that case law. So it's very important.
Right. So switching gears just a little bit, but still kind of focusing on that litigation aspect of it. I'd love to hear more about your role with the American Academy of Financial Litigators, because I think, at least in my experience, I think marriage and family law, and my mind doesn't immediately go to financial litigation. So if you could talk about that connection a little bit, I think that'd be really enlightening.
So, people don't really understand how important the finances are sometimes in a matrimonial case, but they are. And you have to be very good with numbers. You really have to understand, the ability to trace, for example, what we call separate property under the domestic relations law. The lecture that I had just done at the American Academy of Financial Litigators for them with Stacey Francis, who is the founder of Savvy Ladies, and who is a close friend of mine, and also who has an incredible practice in terms of advising people on their finances through their divorces. She and I actually performed a lecture together, and it was on something called the De Jesus formula. And that was a division of restricted stock. And many, there are those nuances that are so important in matrimonial law, and that careful reading of the case law about the division of restricted stock, which most people don't know about, and a lot of lawyers don't know about. And, understanding what the grant documents say, and those kinds of very important pieces are financial, and you really need to understand them. And if you're going to be able to protect your client, either on either side, either the person who has, something like the stock that we're talking about, or the spouse of that person, to know what they should or would get if they were in court, because that's how you're going to negotiate your agreement, even if you're not in court. And so the American Academy really focuses on the financial pieces of matrimonial law, which would include valuations of businesses, understanding how to read tax returns, understanding the different schedules that are in the tax returns, both corporate tax returns and personal tax returns. If you're conducting a deposition, you have to be able to know those things, because otherwise you're not going to be able to ask the questions that are so important to understand your case. And in order to come up with what I call the marital estate chart, so that you can actually put together a proposal for your client, a settlement proposal, or prepare your case for trial if necessary, you need to know what is your client's right to these assets. And the only way to do that is to understand the finances. So, and we don't do it alone. We work with accounting firms. We work with, a great many accounting firms when there's business valuations involved, or even issues of restricted stock. So it's important to collaborate with professionals.
Right. So you mentioned that one of your coworkers is actually the co-founder of Savvy Ladies. I've read a little bit about it, seen it on your LinkedIn, but could you tell us a little bit about what that is and exactly what you do with them?
So Stacy is actually a colleague. She's not a coworker, but
Oh,
she's a colleague. She is a founder. She's the founder of Savvy Ladies, and Stacy had started Savvy Ladies many years ago to essentially empower women financially, and that meant to educate them about their finances. And I was very drawn to Savvy Ladies because many times women, particularly, come into my office and they just do not have any understanding of their finances. Either they, were the stay-at-home mom who didn't understand it, or even if they were the executive who was out working, they might not have had time to understand their finances. And so this is a non-for-profit entity that is geared toward educating women. And it is geared toward educating women about finances. And one of the things that they provide, which I think is so incredible, is this one-on-one helpline, where you can actually call into the helpline and have questions answered about your finances. And they will also essentially join with you a financial professional who will help you over a period of time with your financial issues. And so this one-on-one advice that you're getting from a financial professional that is free of charge, and is so important for so many women, particularly in the days of COVID, when you don't know whether you can, for example, if you can't pay your rent, or you don't have enough money to pay your credit cards or your student loans, etc. This is really a very significant group of people who can help you. And I got involved with Savvy Ladies a few years ago, and I'm on the board of Savvy Ladies. And in fact, I'm on the gala. I am a gala chair, and we're going to be having our gala on November 19th via Zoom. And I hope everybody buys tickets to it, because it's going to be an incredible event. And we actually started a next gen group for Savvy Ladies, because the next gen is obviously the future. And reaching out to women who actually are just beginning their careers and might need to and want to be able to network and want to be involved in an organization like this.
Very cool. And so speaking of the next gen, do you have any closing advice for law students and young professionals who maybe aren't so set on one practice area of law, or perhaps just are thinking about law and not really sure what to do, or just really any advice regarding surviving law school to begin with?
So law school is tough the first year, as we all know, right? It was unbelievably tough the first year. But once you get through the first year, the second and the third are really fun. And, you should take as many interesting classes as you can. I will tell you, evidence, it is a very important class. Pay attention to it, because you will need it in that courtroom. If you're going to be in a courtroom, that's the most important class. I think of all the classes I took, that was probably, for me, the most important class. Contracts, also very important class. And I would say, just make the most of your experience. Do as many interesting things, take as many interesting classes. Fordham is great also for networking, as you know, probably, Sydney. and very supportive of people in their field. And we have a very collegial group of people who are Fordham grads. So it's a fabulous place to go to law school, and a place to definitely reconnect with people after law school.
Most definitely. Well, Lisa, thank you so much for joining us on this episode of the Fordham Fireside Chats. For everyone else watching, thank you for joining us. We hope to see you next time. So thank you, Lisa.
Thanks so much, Sydney, for having me.